It is savings month. Should it even exist anymore? Who's saving money? This is the MoneyMakers. I'm Bruce Whitfield to look at managing your finances and how it's becoming a choice between sinking or swimming financially. Joining me this evening, Phillip Kassel. He is Executive Financial Planner from Liberty. Do savings months matter?
Savings month should be every month.
No, but that's the point. People talk about Women's Month. Women's Month should be all blooming year.
I
Savings
agree.
Month should be all year. It draws attention to the issue of saving.
Correct.
Does it work?
No.
Why not?
The savings culture in South Africa is limited to a few people. And when, for argument's sake, some people realize that they need to save, and you sit down with them and you work out a plan with them and you look at their time horizons, you want this in 2 years, this in 5 years, this in 25 years, and 6 months later, Philip, can I have my money? I need to do X, Y, and Z.
Yeah, no, it's a big problem. We have a savings culture issue in South Africa. We have a deep sense of short-termism in South Africa as well, of instant gratification. We also have far too people who are financially able to save any money, because far too many people earn far too little to benefit the savings industry.
But it's not just the people who earn too little. People who earn a lot
Spend a lot.
correct. They have a certain lifestyle, a certain image and status, reputation. And you're earning 100,000 Rand a month, and therefore theoretically you should have a substantial amount, let's say at least 10%. Where from? They're highly indebted. It's sad, it's very sad. And I think from an early age, you're a student, you're earning no money, you're getting pocket money. The moment you get your first check, you're earning 1 trillion% more than you were when you were a student. Why can't you take 10 or 20% of that? And in fact, that isn't even enough. But it's the culture. And how do you change that culture?
Any ideas on how you change the culture?
You see, Bruce, I see...
You're putting on your financial advisor face now, you know that.
Did I really?
You did.
Wow.
I felt like I was about to be sold something.
That comes later.
Okay.
That comes later.
You're still softening me up.
I have the app form right here.
Right.
Bruce, in my position, having done this for 20 odd years, I see the despair when people want to retire. It's those stories I want to tell the youngsters.
Tell us a story.
Well, I would like them to see the type of poverty that these people are living in, because they took out retirement annuities, or they took out whatever investment it happened to be, but because of this instantaneous gratification, this short-termism, they didn't continue with it. They didn't meet their time horizon financial objectives. Then it comes to age 55, because you can now take your monies out of a retirement annuity at age 55.
You start drawing down on the retirement annuity at 17.5% a year, and by the time you're 60, the money's gone.
Correct. But these people haven't been putting money away for long enough. They started at 25 and stopped at 27. Or alternatively, you land yourself in the situation where you only start at 45 and you've got to put so much more away. And that's a massive burden on your monthly expenses. I think people are obviously living beyond their means.
Do we need mandatory savings in South Africa?
Mandatory savings? You know, as a capitalist, I don't like to think so.
As a pragmatist?
Yes.
Yeah.
Very much so.
Now, we've seen such big pushback from the trade union movement and the various attempts of the National Treasury to amend retirement planning and retirement regulation.
Yes.
And the trade unions say, hold on a second. I mean, people you're asking to save money don't earn enough to invest money.
Correct.
Is that a fair comment? Because the trade union movement is either impoverishing its membership into the future, or it's going to agree to making its membership even poorer now.
Yes, I understand that. But you know, you have another side to the story, and maybe you should make mandatory savings from an eligible age of 40. All your viewers are going to kill me.
Well, that's the time when your expenses are hitting their highest.
That's exactly what I'm
highest
saying.
level, because that's when mortgages are at their biggest, school fees are at their highest, financial obligations.
Now you take the words out of my mouth. But we're on the same wavelength over here, because whereas a person is supposed to start putting money away initially from the date that they get their first paycheck, they're thinking, I want to get married, I want a house, I want a car.
So shouldn't we be putting in mandatory savings from the age of you get your first job, your first paycheck, 10%. Just 10% comes out of that first paycheck.
But the thing is, people don't want to do that. They believe it's the right thing to do, but instantaneous gratification kicks in.
But there's a suitable tax incentive.
Well, there's always been a suitable tax incentive.
Yeah.
In fact, it's even better now.
Why do people not buy the tax incentive then in terms of creating in their own lives a mandatory savings regime?
Well, when it comes to tax incentives, you must understand...
You've got to be earning enough to pay the tax in the first place, which is one thing.
True,
Yes.
but there is a pro and a con. So, a tax incentive, for argument's sake, on retirement annuities, I'm getting anything up to 27.5% of my taxable income, but I can't touch my money until I'm 55.
Isn't that awesome?
Well, when you are 55, you realize how awesome it is.
Yeah.
But when you are 25, you don't see that benefit. The millennials today can't see that far in advance.
It's not a millennial problem. It's a Generation X, it's a Generation Y problem. There are very few people my age, no, very young, who are in a position where they will be ready to retire at even age 65, never mind the dream of 60 or even an early retirement at 55, which was the dream many had at the year 2000.
That's right. In fact, I think of my parents. They were told, no, you can, if you have 100,000 rand, wow, and they just converted from pounds to rands, and now, wow, this is a substantial amount of money. Yet they're not living the life that they anticipated. Inflation, longevity, etc.
Two of the biggest killers of long-term wealth: inflation, which erodes the value of money faster than 6% a year, frankly, and longevity, because longevity is a wonderful problem to have. If you've got good genes, aren't you fortunate? However, with the impact of inflation, suddenly 5 million rands worth of retirement savings at 65, by the time you're 75, is not substantial anymore.
Not at all. Not at all.
How do we get through this? Give me a practical solution here, Mr. Kassel.
Well,
if we're not going to force people to save,
you've just elevated my title, yeah.
If we're not going to force people to save, if we're going to keep it voluntary, and we're going to try and scare the living daylights out of people, that strategy has not worked for the last 30 years in financial planning.
Okay, I'll tell you. I'll give you an idea. Placing me on the spot, and I really haven't thought of this before.
Excellent.
Why don't we start in school?
No, that's the only place to start, but we're not going to start it because we don't have an education system that can teach maths and science properly. So how are you going to teach financial planning?
You know what? I agree with you.
Yeah.
Maths, science, the 3 R's, but people understand money. However, if you're a youngster and whenever you ask your parents for money and they give it to you, well, then you're not going to appreciate the value of money, both now and in the future. So if you introduce that as a life skill course, money management, from an early age, a very, very early age, reinforced not only between teachers and parents combined, maybe that will start the culture.
There's a comparison period, I think it's once a week or maybe twice a week, called life orientation. Complete waste of time in many, many schools that could be perfectly utilized for that.
I agree with you.
So why doesn't Liberty then get your bosses, get Tabot Lottie to start driving this process?
We are in fact, we actually very involved in a number of these projects.
But they're projects. It's not institutionalized across the system.
Nope. No, I agree with you.
That's the only solution.
You need to start young, attack them young.
Attack them. Attack is perhaps a little aggressive.
I like that. I'd rather be attacked at a young age and 30 years later say, thank goodness.
No, but the principle, I'm constantly writing about compound interest, and every time I do it, I am amazed by the magic of it. The seventh wonder of the world. Eighth. There we go. I knew it was one of the wonders.
One of the wonders.
You look at something, for example, if somebody had, hypothetically, 35-year-old person had 4 million rand in investments today, and they grew that at a compounded rate of 10% a year.
Oh, my Lord.
Is that realistically?
Oh, my Lord.
Is that realistic?
Of course.
By the time they're 65, they're sitting on 70 million rand.
It's going to double just about every 5 years.
They're sitting on, trust me, it's 70 million rand.
You've worked it out already?
I have.
Okay, right.
70 million rand. And you go, well, that's a lot of money.
Wow.
But 4 million rand today, in 30 years' time,
yes,
at inflation of 6%,
correct,
is worth 23 million. But you
still are better, 3 times better.
Correct. And if we can teach those lessons in schools, we may be starting to make some progress.
Are you agreeing with me that that's where we should start?
Completely. But we're not going to make any
But there's also something else that we have to address. We need to address the fact that we mustn't consistently try and keep up with the Joneses. We need
the Kumalos, anybody else. I love Trevor Manuel in his budget speech, probably the last budget speech he made. South Africans got this terrible disease of keeping up with the Kumalos. The whole of Parliament laughed, and yes, it was funny.
Yes,
but it's not.
But it's so true.
But it's not funny. It's a disease, and
very much so.
We have it very, very much in place here. People have got to see either that we're wealthy or that we're not.
Yes.
We either show it off in our shoes, or we show it off in our cell phones. We show it off in the cars we drive, the houses we live in.
Exactly.
The handbags we carry. We have to be seen to be.
So how do we move away from that and say, you know what, I have to live within my means?
But that's the hardest sell. That's harder than selling life insurance.
Let me ask you this. Actually, I think life insurance sales are very easy, so you're quite correct. People like the idea of investment, but the moment they've got a little bit of money or something has happened, or wow, I've been given the opportunity of going on a holiday, out comes that savings. Are we the only country with this culture?
No, we don't. I think we're possibly worse. We've got a very strong nouveau riche culture in South Africa, and that's across the board. That's across population groups. It's across demographics in South Africa. But isn't it typical maybe of emerging markets? I'm sure that you've got the same problem in China. You've got the same problem happening in countries like Brazil and India.
Without a doubt. Apple comes out with the latest gadget. Miles and miles of queues at midnight waiting to get those things. They can't afford it. They've got it already. They've already got the iPhone 5. Now it's the iPhone 6, 6S, whatever it happens to be. You know, the one isn't broken. Why do you want to change it for another one? You've got to be seen to be keeping up with the Kamalas, as you said.
Yeah, but by the time you hit 65, you're going to be a very poor, lonely and tragic individual.
And the fact is at 65, you're not going to die at 67. You're going to be living very, very much longer. What else can we do to emphasize, to stress the importance of
Do we need
saving?
to emphasize the positives more than the negatives? My sense of Savings Month, going full circle, because I like to conclude these things, you see, is that maybe the messaging out of the financial sector is wrong. It's negative. If you don't do this, you will get this. How about saying, if you do this, you will get this?
I agree with you.
Positive case studies.
I like that. Positive reinforcement. If you want to retire comfortably, you need to do this. Well, let's put it from a positive perspective. So I agree, but I also do agree with you that it's not just places like my company, it's all the financial institutions.
It's an industry problem.
Without question of a doubt.
It's an industry problem. We agree. Excellent. We've agreed a lot this evening, but we've agreed well on important things. Phillip Kassel is the Executive Financial Planner. He is from Liberty. Thank you for watching. More Money Makers and more people who talk about Money Makers tomorrow. Till then, bye-bye.